This is DeliveranceMinistry.fm VideoCast number 34. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DeliveranceMinistry.fm, where we give you proven insights about the demonic realm and deliverance ministry so you can wage spiritual warfare more effectively. My name is Dr. Don Ibbotson. Sitting beside me, as always, is my co-pilot,
Faithful.
Dr. Phyllis Tarbox.
Faithful Phyllis.
Faithful Phyllis, here to help out. We're continuing on doing another podcast today. We so appreciate all the comments and feedback we get from you out there who are enjoying these and suggestions for new topics, and certainly hope you will keep those coming to us. Today we're going to tackle a topic that is, I believe, a principle that has the power to revolutionize your marriage. It really is. That's powerful. It's a book and a resource we recommend highly to people, and we're going to be talking about that in a few moments. Stay tuned to the end. I want to encourage you to do that because we're going to tell you again, as we do every time, of an opportunity that you can have to receive a free downloadable copy of our Plain and Deliverance Ministry Plain and Simple e-manual. Okay, we'll let you know what you need to do that. And then also, right at the end, we're going to tell you about a new program we're implementing called the Warrior Partners Program. So please stay on right till the very end. All right, let's dive right into the topic.
Okay.
The title is Love and Respect, Keys to a Thriving Marriage. There's a lot of elements. And Phyllis and I have both been married a long time, so we just don't know it from books. We learn it from, firsthand principles and firsthand experiences, that there's a lot of elements to a successful marriage. And people can have a lot of personal baggage that needs to be dealt with, even when they come into a marriage. But there are some biblical principles that people can follow that can really help any and all marriage situations. And by the way, that's true whether it's a Christian couple or a non-Christian couple, really non-believers, if you like, because God's principles work for everybody.
Yes, they do.
And these concepts we're going to talk about today, this notion of love and respect, will be helpful to everybody who has ears to hear because they're in God's Word. And we want to mention right from the get-go and make sure you're well aware of this. So probably put a link to this in the website, in the show notes. It's called, the book that we're going to be referencing a lot is called Love and Respect. And the person who wrote this is Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. And it is a resource we've had for years. We recommend it for people, and you're going to see why by the time we get to the end of this podcast. It really is a good book. We encourage everybody who's married to get it, thinking about getting married and wish they weren't married, pre-married, whatever, to get it. It really is full of lots of good information. Yep. And so we want to, I think
it's a great engagement gift too.
That's true. Yeah. It is a great engagement gift. Done that.
So have I.
Now, if it gets read, it's even better.
Yes.
So many engagements or wedding gifts can, end up in a closet, but this one's worth the effort. And so, let's start off. Phyllis, you and I do a lot of marriage counseling with folks. What are two of the most common themes that we hear from people when they come in?
Well, the wives always say, my husbands don't love me. I just want love. I just want his time. I just want his love. And that's what they complain about. And the husbands on the other side will say, my wife doesn't respect me. So it's quite a different picture of, and I think that's what we're going to break down today, how to meet those needs on both sides, because our needs are not their needs and their needs are not our needs. And once we recognize that we're coming from different sides of the game here, it makes things a whole lot easier. But that's it. Women want love and men want respect. And,
before we got exposed to this book, I used to hear that over and over again. People would come in, and the wives, you'd listen to the stories, and all that, such a common theme. My husband doesn't love me. And you talk to the husband and say, well, I do love her, but, and the husbands, I very seldom ever heard a husband say, or be concerned and say, well, my wife doesn't love me.
Right. Once in a while, but not often.
Not often. The common thing, my wife doesn't respect me. And it's like, wow, what an interesting contrast. And you say, well, why is that? Well, here's the deal. That notion of love and respect, love for wives and husbands, respect for husbands, comes right out of the Word. Ephesians 5:33. If you're listening at home or driving somewhere, pull over or flag this or write it down or put it on something. This is a scripture that's worth really sinking your teeth into. Ephesians 5:33. And I'm going to read you what it says. And this is the NIV version. Paul says, however, each one of you must also love his wives. Love his wife.
Singular
as he
is
loves,
good, yeah.
Singular, one wife. Love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So, what you say, well, why is that? And I, once again, giving due notice to the book and to the author, in explaining this concept, the fact that the wife needs love and the husband needs respect, he uses the word picture in the book about a scuba diver analogy. Now, any of you who have scuba dived will get this very easily. If you haven't, you can still imagine it. But a scuba diver, he will say a wife needs love like a scuba diver needs air.
Oh, yeah.
And vice versa. The husband needs respect like a scuba diver needs air. And it's that important because scuba divers, nothing else happens without air. If you're scuba diving and the air goes, you're done. And so that's the importance of it. And it's interesting. You say, well, does that mean that wives don't need respect and the husbands don't need to be loved? No, we're not saying that. And but the key thing is that the glue that's going to hold a marriage together is a husband loving himself and the wife respecting her husband. And we're going to talk about what exactly that means. All right. You talk to people many times, they talk about arguments that they have, right? Couples come in while we're fighting, and they'll talk about some of the fights that they have. And if you can just imagine and think back the arguments you might have had, maybe recently, maybe times past with your spouse, if a husband is arguing with his wife, many times he will react without love. And because the wife doesn't feel loved, she will react to the husband without respect and then repeat. It's kind of rinse and repeat.
Yep.
It goes round. And that's why he calls it the crazy cycle. It just goes. It goes. It goes.
Yeah.
The wife fears being a doormat.
Right. But she feels like she's just going to give in and let him get away with his bad behavior, right?
Exactly. She's going to be abused. And we can talk about, there's whole things about, wives respecting her husband doesn't mean submitting, her husband doesn't mean being a doormat. It's none of that. But the wife can feel like if she doesn't feel loved, she's going to feel like she's a doormat. Right. And the husband's worst fear is that his wife's going to despise him. That's the thing. And really, that's disrespect. So the husband, it just kind of cycles. He reacts to the situation without love. She reacts without respect. They don't learn how to argue well, and this cycle just builds and builds and builds. So once again, we're just giving you a high-level flyby here of these concepts. If you read and get into the book more, you'll get a handle on this. So
dating, when they're dating and he looks at her with great love and he just really wants her, right? He's got all that love in the dating cycle, and she looks at him and he's the hero. That's that whole picture of that, like that balance that he draws him in and draws her in while it's all in that newness phase.
That's the dating phase.
Yeah, that's the dating phase. See, it's all there in the dating phase, though, isn't it?
It seems to be there in the dating phase, and ideally in marriages that work best, you can continue it on in the marriage phase. And if it's not there, the good news is, if it's not there, there's a way to break this cycle. That's the good news. That's why it's important to understand there's not lost causes here. It's just some of the things need to be done differently. Right. Having this mindset of husbands learning how to love their wives, they need to be loved, and wives understanding, well, what does it mean to respect my husband? How do I do that? Am I willing to do that? And so that's kind of what this is about. And so if things are going badly, it's called a crazy cycle. Right. Now, there is something when you get it turned around and hopefully both partners working in the same direction, you can have what's called the energizing cycle. How does that work?
Well, his love actually motivates her respect, which then will motivate him to love her. So there's this great give and take. You get back to that dating place, because every place in marriages, you'll find there'll be these little oases where, wow, it was really working so good for a while. And then what happened? Well, what was going good when it was working good? You were respecting him, and because you were respecting him, he was loving you, and that give and take was flowing, right?
Exactly. And exactly, and and you can see and say, well, that's a great concept, but it's got to be lived out day to day.
Right.
So in the midst of these day-to-day things we call life, these activities, these discussions, these disagreements, the husband needs to be like, well, what does love look like to my wife in this situation? How can I show my love to my wife? And when she will respond to that, hopefully, then that will motivate her to respond with respect to her husband.
Exactly.
Which will motivate, hopefully, his love. So it's a cycle. Once again, rinse and repeat, that it grows, the energizing cycle. Now, look, these are concepts, and, how do you get from A to B? That's, that takes some work and some effort.
Right.
But it starts with that concept. If you can just get a hold of this, and I just really, I've just seen it so profoundly in marriage situations and counseling situations. I'm sure you have too, that if we can just how to show husbands how to love their wives the way they need to be loved, and then they've got to be motivated to do that. And in conjunction, the wife choosing to respect her husband in the way he needs to be respected, and not make it conditional. Say, no, I'm going to do these things as unto the Lord. I'm going to love my wife as unto the Lord. And the Bible even says, Jesus, we're to love our wives. It says, as Christ loved the church. I tell this to husbands all the time. Christ gave himself up for the church. That's how much he loved the church. He loves it, that's how much we're to love our wives. And so, and the wives, some say, well, they're to respect their husbands. And sometimes wives, I think, will get it wrong. They'll say, well, I would respect my husband if. I can't respect him because. It's like you're reading it wrong. It doesn't say if he does this. You respect your husband as unto the Lord. Now, what does that mean? Now, once again, just maybe some out there were ready to, throw something at their pod, break their pod, or, their phone or something, or whatever it is you're listening to this on. It doesn't mean being a doormat and being abused. So please, you hear the intent here, but there's great hope, because we've talked to so many people who have been able to implement this successfully and turn things around in their marriage.
Well, too, I think that wives, their fix to trying to fix the marriage is to love their husband more, to try to love them, where that's not what he's looking for. And the husband is like, well, I'll respect her. And that's not what she's looking for. So, we're still, it's like, what is it? Men are from Venus, women are from Mars, or whatever. So we got two different love languages going on here, basically.
Well, yeah, they're different, and they're wired differently, and there's different ways of looking at it. You mentioned that book, and other people talk about the book, The 5 Love Languages. And that's an element too. That's more of how people are different.
Right.
This is more of how the husbands and wives, men and women, are different. This whole concept
makes
of love
the
and
needs
respect.
obvious.
Exactly. And so, once again, we don't have time to go into all these things. Hopefully, we're going to be motivated. You're going to be motivated to pick up the book. But let me just give you a high-level flyby, starting with the husbands. I want to tell you what love looks like for wives. It doesn't mean you mow the lawn. It doesn't mean you're not running around at night. It doesn't mean you fix the car. And those are important things, but that doesn't what love looks like for wives. And the acronym that Eggerichs uses is COUPLE, COUPLE, couple. And once again, just very briefly, I'm just going to read down these things. This is what love looks like for wives. C is for closeness. She wants you to be close to her. Am I always remembering to move towards her and accept her need to talk and connect with me, to be assured of my love? Looking for openness. Husbands, your wives want you to be open with her. Do I share my thoughts with her? Am I not resisting her efforts to draw me out? Now, many men, sometimes they'll just clam up. Yeah. They're not good at sharing, but wives need that openness. You, understanding. Don't try to fix her, just listen. Man, I got to tell you, many times the wives don't want you to fix every problem. I had a guy in here the other day. He's listening to his wife, and right away he's trying to jump in and tell her how to fix
solution oriented.
Yeah. Sometimes she doesn't want you to fix. She just wants you time to listen. She doesn't expect you to fix every problem. Now, if a leaky sink or something's not working, okay, that's different. But every emotional things in her life.
The answer, I understand, is really a good answer.
Yeah, I understand. Exactly.
Yeah, you can be to anything.
Right.
I understand.
Even if you don't understand, totally say, I'm sorry that you're going through it. I understand. I get that.
Hey, that's a big, big, big Band-Aid.
That's it. Here's another big Band-Aid. P is for peacemaking. She wants you to say, I'm sorry. Am I always willing to resolve issues? Am I careful to never say, let's just drop it and move on? Sometimes men are having a hard time, and I know there can be wives who do same things too, but I've seen it more with husbands. It's so hard to say, I'm so just like the Fonz, you know, on Happy Days.
Oh, yeah.
What he used to say, I'm sorry, or I made a mistake. Couldn't say it. She wants you to say, I'm sorry.
Well,
that's hard.
I want to get rid of that movie Love Story. Remember that movie Love Story? Love means never having to say you're sorry. Ugh, I hear men say that all the time. Well, if I love her, I don't have to say I'm sorry. Wrong.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's not what it says.
No.
That's not peacemaking. Saying I'm sorry can be huge. L in the couple is loyalty. Wants to know you're committed. Wife needs to know that you're committed to her, that you're going to be loyal to her forever, and that she's the one love of your life. And esteem. E is for esteem, the C-O-U-P-L-E. She wants you to honor her. Wives want to be honored. Read book of Proverbs about a Proverbs 31 woman. That's, do I always let her know that I treasure and put the highest value on her as a person? That's huge. Now, this is what love looks like for a wife. And the issue for husbands is just starting out here, are you willing to do that? It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy to do that. But if you want to love your wife in the way she needs to be loved, I can tell you these 6 things here can get you well started down the path. Once again, just a very quick run through of what love looks like for a wife. Okay, let's talk about the husbands for a minute.
Okay. Well, the acronym for husbands is CHAIRS. That's and I'll go through each one of those, but the first letter for C for CHAIRS is conquest. Appreciate his desire to conquer the challenges of the world. Are you always standing behind him and letting him know that you support him in his work and his endeavors in his field? And this would be respecting him for his job. I mean, I have to say, a man's job is, wow, it's as a provider, it's a big deal. And a lot of their respect comes from what they do in life. And, just to sit there and listen to him talk about his work and not say, I've heard enough about your job, I don't want to hear about it anymore. That you have to be open to hear about those things. So be respectful of his job and that he is providing. I think a lot of times women will actually discount the job because they feel like the job is pulling the husband away from the house. Like he's missing all the children's birthdays and this job is more important than I am. Or my husband's a workaholic and that's his other wife,
Which could be true.
Yes, it could be true.
That needs fixing too.
Yes, it does. But you need to appreciate that he is working and that he is providing and respect him for those things because it's important.
And that's the way men are wired. And I know there's lots of wives and women in the workforce that get that, and that's important. But the whole thing with men, their desire to conquer the challenges of the world, that's part of their makeup.
Yeah, they're pioneers. The H is hierarchy. And appreciate his desire to protect and provide. Do I let him know that I respect and appreciate his desire to protect and provide for me and the family? And what have I said recently to communicate this? I know that's a big thing, as far as home protection and watching out to make sure that you're safe. And, sometimes your husband will say things like, watch your surroundings or, make sure that you're aware and you feel like maybe he's trying to micromanage you a little bit, but he's not. He's actually expressing his love that he's trying to keep you safe, or the way he takes.
So just appreciating that.
Yes, appreciate that.
Will feed that.
It absolutely will. So that's the C and the H. The A is for authority. Appreciate his desire to serve and lead. Have I gone on record that because he has the primary responsibility for me, even to die for me, do you recognize that he does have that primary authority, or do you let him be the leader? How have you helped him in that regard recently? So his authority as the head of the household is important.
And I know some of you listening will say, well, my husband's not the head. He's not doing that. It's like, and sometimes husbands, maybe they don't step up and do that. But if you can just encourage that and men are to be the spiritual heads of the home. And if they're not, well, just encourage him to let him be the leader, let him encourage him as he does that. And, hopefully then he will be in a position maybe to respond better.
Yeah. And, maybe his way he serves too, the way he serves the wife could be how he does his authority language as well.
True.
And
exactly.
So his service gifts are really important. Insight, appreciate his desire to analyze and counsel. Do I trust his ability to analyze things and offer solutions and just not depend on my intuition? So, when he does offer advice, when he is giving you that solution, you need to appreciate it and then continue to ask him to listen. Right?
Well, that's it. And I mean, because many husbands, they just want to fix things.
Yeah.
They want to fix it. How can I fix you? And we talked about, well, men, many times your wives don't need you to fix everything, but your wives can say, well, is there a way I can express just my gratitude or appreciate his desire, at least, to analyze and counsel and deflect that, if you like, in a way that's not hurtful and
Right.
not demeaning
Right.
and not disrespecting.
Right. And then the R is relationship. Appreciate that desire for a relationship. Do you spend shoulder to shoulder time with him whenever you can? Do you let him know that you're his friend as well as his lover? I think this is one of the things that really surprised me the most about men, Don. Because women, when we spend time in relationships shoulder to shoulder, we expect it to either be an activity or talking and communicating and doing. And with men, if you're doing something and we come up alongside of you and we just sit and we don't say a word, that's a shoulder to shoulder activity. Like if my husband is working on something on his motorcycle and I just go out there to sit and I don't even have to talk to him, maybe just read a book alongside of him, he's happy as a clam. It's like we're together. That doesn't mean together time for women, though.
Well, exactly. And that's the serving thing. The wives are looking for something different from their husbands. They want that openness and talking and sharing. And look, there's a place for that in marriage, and we get that. But this whole notion, I think, with men, just that desire for friendship. I think what you said is important. Just being there, going along with, and just being there.
Being
shoulder
present.
to shoulder time, shoulder to shoulder. It doesn't mean face to face necessarily, talking and but just being there, and that's important. That's one of the things men are looking for. Husbands are looking for.
So here's the big clue on that, girls. When you're sitting on the couch next to your husband and he's watching a sporting event that you don't really care about, don't bring your phone. Leave your phone in the other room because that phone takes you out of being shoulder to shoulder with him. Okay? Distracts you. Okay, and the S thing is sexuality. Appreciate his desire for sexual intimacy. Do I honor his need for sexual release even when I don't feel like it? Okay, it's not always going to be the perfect romantic, intimate time. And sometimes you just, you go with it and you're going to get that love on the flip side. So sexuality is a big part of their motivation. So that is your chairs.
2 little acronyms. They're summaries, and we've given you quickly 2 summaries of the differences of what love and respect look like for husbands and wives. We talked about there's some practical steps in this book about how to begin to implement, to transition from the crazy cycle to the energizing cycle and get into that place, build that atmosphere of love and respect. And it takes effort. Ideally, it takes 2 working together. But here's the encouragement I want to give you. Maybe you're out there, maybe your wife listening to this, and you say, well, my husband's not there. He won't do this, or maybe it's the other way around. You can do this unilaterally on your own. Everything doesn't have to be a group project. Get this book, read the book, and say, as you read it prayerfully, say, Lord, show me, if you're a woman, Lord, show me how I can love my husband the way he needs to be loved. And it doesn't mean you take the book home and let it and throw it down on the coffee table, throw it on the bed, say, here, read this. Or sometimes husbands, I say, well, should I give this to my wife to read? I say, no, right now, she's not in here. You read it yourself.
Right.
Let the Lord show you how you can be the husband that you're called to be and love your wife the way she needs to be loved. And I can tell you, she will respond to that. And I would say the same. It cuts both ways. Once again, if you need counseling, or it's not being a doormat or being abused, then that's a different deal. But if it's like, just choose. If this bears witness in your spirit, and the Spirit of God is speaking to you, say, Lord, I want to be the wife that you have called me to be. And yes, I've tried before. It's not working. He's this, he's that. Give the Lord an opportunity to say, Lord, I want to do this as unto you, and I'm going to serve this as unto you, and just start doing it. Get the book, read the things. They're scriptural. It's pretty scriptural things in it, principles, and I just give God an opportunity to move in your marriage. And I've heard it. I can tell you testimonies where people have come through and just on their own unilaterally decided to do these things, and the other spouse will respond.
Right.
So and once again, ideally, yes, both of you go through this together. You each get a book, you read it, you can discuss it. Many marriages aren't in that state where that's going to happen, right? That's could be maybe beyond what's feasible at this point. But if it's not, do it yourself. Get the book, prayerfully read it to you, and your prayer should be, Lord, show me what I need to be doing.
Right.
Because you're going to look through it and say, yeah, well, my husband's not doing this. Am I supposed? She's not doing this. He's not doing that. And it's like you're reading it with the wrong attitude.
Yep.
What you're saying might be some measure of it significantly true, but if your goal is to say, Lord, show me.
Show me. Yeah.
And I can tell you, I believe he will, I believe he's going to honor that. So any final things or thoughts you want to leave on this, Phyllis, about love and respect in marriage?
Your marriage it's a trial run for your marriage to Christ. I think we got to get that in our heads. It's not about us and the Lord. It's really, we're married. This is kind of how we're going to work it out. We need to get it straight here. And you have to understand that the most mature one in the couple is the one that's going to go beyond their need for love and respect.
That's really good. Yep.
And begin to bless their spouse regardless of their behavior. So whichever one of you is the most mature one is the one that's going to step out first and pass their own. And it'll end in a win-win, but it's not easy, because as the husband puts on love, even in conflict, his wife will then feel one with him. And when a wife puts on respect during those moments, the husband's going to feel one with the wife. So disagreements don't always get solved, but unity is certainly a great outcome. I like what Patricia King told me once. She said, you can't change the will of another person, but you can change your own atmosphere. So unity is a good place to start with that atmosphere. I would say read this book. I think I'm going to put it back on my read list because just going over it for this podcast, I saw things. Yep, we can work harder on that. So it's a great book for every couple.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what is emphasized again is that it's something you can just choose to do unilaterally for yourself.
Right.
Get the book. It's a lot less expensive than marriage counseling, quite frankly, and you can really reap great benefits from it. So love and respect, really the significant cornerstones, I believe, of healthy marriages. So hope you have enjoyed this session. It's a different kind of session for us, but I really happy that we
still
did
warfare,
this topic.
Though.
Well, marriage has got its struggles, and that's why there's marriage counseling. But that's also why there's deliverance ministry. So, want to encourage you to go to iTunes, find our podcast, deliveranceministry.fm, leave a review for us there, and then go to our website. If you fill out a little form and that indicating that you left a review and we find it, verify it, we'll send you a downloadable copy, a link to download our e-manual on Deliverance Ministry, plain and simple, a free gift that we, in token of our appreciation for you doing that. Talk again about our resource library. A lot of our free resources are available in one place on the Academy website. You can get to it even from counseling. Just sign up and you'll get that. Get on our email list to be notified of new content. Of course, even on our Academy site, we talked about free resources. We got a lot of resources there as well for boot camp training that you can purchase. Children's Deliverance Ministry videos. We've got our Christian counseling degree programs there. So a lot of things there for you to look at. And finally, I want to tell you about a new program that we have. It's called the Warrior Partners Program. Basically, it's an opportunity for you, if you believe in what we're doing here, to invest in the future of Above and Beyond Christian counseling through monthly giving or even one-time gifts. There's basically a twofold purpose for the program. First of all, we're going to set up. We don't have it yet, but as the funds come in, we'll set this up, a scholarship program to help people who need deliverance ministry. We can minister to who do not have the resources to do that. Right now, we have our group seminars to do that, and we'll continue to have those. Second part of this program is to provide resources to help us produce materials to train and equip believers around the world in the ministry of deliverance. It takes some skills, it takes products, it takes things to develop these kind of resources, and the funds will be used for that as well. So it's a twofold purpose. Find the link. There'll be, a link on our show page here to that. Prayerfully consider being part of that, and we would truly be blessed if you would do that.
Amen.
Once again, thank you for listening to this. We appreciate you taking the time to do this, sharing the link with others who need to hear these podcasts, signing up for them. We'll continue to come out with new content and that hopefully will help you be more effective in your own walk with the Lord and in understanding and waging spiritual warfare more effectively. Once again, let us know of topics you'd like us to cover. It's because of you that we're doing these, and we very much appreciate you all who are listening to this. So thank you for listening. God bless you all.